The Charlotte Hornets have been quite an interesting franchise the last decade because there was the Kemba Walker era where they barely made the playoffs, and if they did, they would be destroyed in the first round. Then they moved on from Kemba, getting Terry Rozier, and soon drafting LaMelo Ball, PJ Washington, and Miles Bridges. And now, after their first winning season in quite a while, I'm pretty sure since a while ago when Kemba was averaging like 25 points a game, the Hornets still have some problems that they need to address, and the Hornets need to make a change. And it was definitely, I would say, a good season for the Hornets because they had a winning record, and that was much more improved than they had last season. But still, if they want to have at least playoff aspirations, they need to address some big problems that we'll talk about in this video. So before we start, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, as it further most feed on Bitcoin videos like this. So let's get right into it. This season, the Charlotte Hornets were 9th in offensive rating and 23rd in defense. And they fired James Borrego, I think, like a week ago. And I don't know if that was really the best move. I mean, he's been there for 4 years and he has had some questionable moments, but the Hornets have been a lot better than expected, especially that 1 year after Kemba left. But still, I mean, it was definitely a little bit questionable to see him not really trust LaMelo Ball at the start of his career, where LaMelo was just off the bench, not really getting any PT or like a crazy amount of playing time, which we knew LaMelo deserved. And they also there's some rumors of them wanting another guard, not fully trusting, not giving the keys to the franchise to LaMelo, and that was probably a problem. And I mean, who will they hire? I have no idea. Maybe it's gonna be Mike D'Antoni. That would be such an interesting acquisition for them. Or maybe like Quinn Snyder gets fired and they pick up him, something like that. But I think I'm cool with that move. I mean, he's been there, like I said, for 4 years, and it's been decent for him. I mean, I wouldn't say he's one of the best coaches, but maybe he's like around the 20 range in coaches, which maybe you do want an upgrade, of course. But then on this team, I mean, it's a solid roster. It's a solid young core. Miles Bridges, he put up 27 and 4, and we'll talk. And his free agency decision is looming, and I personally think that they should pay him. Miles really broke out as a most improved player candidate. In the start of his career, he wasn't really the best. He had the explosiveness, the athleticism, the dunking that we knew that he still has, but he still had to fix his defense, his jump shot, all around scoring, and especially last season and this year, he's really improved all of those to be a 20-point per game scorer. At the start of the season, he was pretty much the most improved player favorite. And yes, he slowed down a little bit and he wasn't top 3, but definitely a big season for Miles. And I know some teams might give him like a lot of money, but he's gonna be such an important player. He fits well with LaMelo Ball, and I think they should definitely keep him. Now, if someone offers him the max, maybe you consider it. I mean, he of course wants a max. I think he rejected like a contract extension for like $18 million, which I do think he's more than that. But the max, 170 million, I think what he's asking for, that's a lot of money. And it's one of those tough decisions where we know he's a young player that can improve, but he still hasn't really emerged himself as an all-star, even an all-star caliber player. I think he has the talent. He has all the tools in the world, but can he put it together? We'll see if the Hornets can believe in them. Then their franchise player, LaMelo Ball, already an all-star, averaging 27 and 6 on 39% from 3. And he was, of course, the Rookie of the Year in his first season, where he pretty much electrified the entire NBA with his passing, his flashiness. And this season, he's been really good. I mean, he put up 20 points. His 3-point percentage has improved a lot, almost becoming a 40% 3-point shooter, which is so much development. I mean, he was like a 33% shooter in his rookie season, and if he can further improve that, that's going to make LaMelo even more scary. And the passing will always be there. He has the flashy plays, and they should definitely build around him. I mean, they drafted him with the 3rd pick for a reason. He's proven that he can be a franchise player, and met so many teams would want LaMelo Ball as their main guy, their just main person that they can build their franchise around. And that's definitely a big cornerstone of this team. Having LaMelo Ball, your future is already bright, and you pair him up with Miles Bridges, someone like PJ Washington, which we'll talk about later, and what his future is. But definitely LaMelo, he's gonna be big. They need him to maybe take the John Moran leap, where in his 3rd season he takes another leap as that maybe all NBA player. I mean, he's proven that he can score it really well. Maybe you want that improved even more. And his playmaking hasn't been good. And then we have Terry Rozier. He's averaging 19, 4, and 4 on 44% from the field. And I think he's a solid fit alongside LaMelo Ball. He's that off-ball scorer, and there have been some rumors that maybe he's gonna be traded, maybe they want something new, but I think they'll be fine if they keep Terry. He's a good shooter, can do some stuff off the dribble, is a decent passer, and I still think that if they keep him, that's fine, but if they do want to make that drastic change, I guess they would have to trade him. And we first have to address one of the big just things they have to address this offseason is Gordon Hayward. And Hayward was injured again. I mean, he's just faced so many injury problems. And when he plays, he's a good scorer. He's a jack of all trades player that can really help this team a lot. But the best ability is availability. That's just the saying. And Gordon Hayward just hasn't been healthy, hasn't been able to provide the impact that we know he can. There have been a lot of rumors, like the Russell Westbrook trade, which, I mean, of course, you don't want really Russell Westbrook on this team. We saw how he works with the ball dominant player like LeBron James. But what if you trade like Gordon Hayward, some other assets for Russell Westbrook? Maybe you get a first round pick from the Lakers, or a young player like Kendrick Nunn or Taylor Horton-Tucker. And then what if you just buy out Russ? I mean, that's gonna open up so much more cap space, which there's some more problems that we'll talk about later, and that could really open up a lot. Now, I'm pretty sure the Lakers said that they don't want an injury-prone player, which makes sense. They've had so many injuries this season, and they don't want another guy that can get hurt and ruin their whole season. So I think they are definitely going for Terry Rozier and Kelly Oubre, which that's a lot of value for Russell Westbrook, which I don't really see the Hornets doing unless there's some more incentives. But it's definitely an interesting trade. And then you also have the PJ Washington trade. There are rumors that in this trade deadline, they were willing to trade PJ Washington for a center in Jakob Poeltl, which I would personally like that deal. He's still a solid 3-and-D player who can stretch the floor. He's a good defender. And yes, he is a little bit undersized to play the small ball 5, but he's a versatile defender, and he has been really good. Now, his role is kind of in question. Will he just doesn't really fit this team as much as a lot of people want him to, and he has faced some inconsistency problems, but we'll see how he does in this offseason. And then, probably the most important thing this offseason is getting a center, getting that defensive center who can hopefully stretch the floor. Miles Turner is, of course, the dream option. Now, do they have the assets? I don't know, maybe you trade I don't know, I still like James Bouknight, who was a lottery pick, and I still think he has a lot of talent. Maybe they ship Terry Rozier, but Miles Turner would legit be perfect for this team. He can stretch the floor. He's that good rim protector. I think he would fit really good alongside LaMelo Ball. And then if they can't get him, like I said, Jakob Poeltl, and at least a solid center, better than Mason Plumlee. And Mason Plumlee is a decent NBA player, but you want him as your backup center. If he's your starting center, there's something wrong with that position, and they just need another upgrade. Now, they do have the mid-level exception, I believe, so maybe they can sign someone with that $10 million, but they need to really address that center position. And they also just need more defense in general, whether that's wing stoppers or that center in the middle. They were one of the worst defensive teams in the entire NBA, and if they can get that another stopper, another 3D player like a Mikal Bridges type player, who would legit be perfect. Now, they can't get him, but that type of mold of a player and the center, I think that this team is going to be super scary. They already have the offense in place. LaMelo, Terry Rozier, Miles Bridges. But if they can figure out the defense, that's what's going to really put them over the top as the franchise. And this offseason, they do have some money. Maybe they'll trade Gordon Hayward. Maybe they'll draft someone in this draft. Maybe they'll draft someone, a big, that can just fill their center position, or even another defender. And if they can get that, I think that's their main priority. Gordon Hayward, maybe you ship him out because he's injured. Maybe there's a PJ Washington trade, a Terry Rozier trade, but you need a defensive center and defensive wings in general. And if they can address that, I can see the Hornets being a lot better next season. So that being said, that's going to be my thoughts about the Hornets. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below what you think the Hornets should do this offseason, and I'll see you on next time.